Yeah. Well, and now we have the man who, Like a Virgin, was written about, a television and... Thanks. A television and screenwriter who can add novelist to his resume this Christmas when his book, The Ascendant, is published. Please be gentle with us. Andrew Chapman, everyone.
I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle.
So, just for the record, Chris Christensen hates Reservoir Dogs. I mean, hates it. You know, Chris Christensen hates all movies, so it's not like a big kind of... I think the 2020 awards are actually his sort of empire of movie crankiness. He gets to have people... We come up here and we spew shit about movies, and he just gets to be right about it. I think he asked me to talk about Reservoir Dogs because I was going to tear Quentin Tarantino a new one, but I'm not really sure. Actually, the email that he sent me when I chose that clip to show, he wrote, and I quote, "I presume you're going to use this clip to show that the film is about nothing." That's Chris's idea of a love letter. It's like, that's his love letter to Tarantino. I love you, you're fantastic, your film sucks and it's about nothing. So anyway, I'm not gonna rip Tarantino. However, to make you happy, Chris, I will take cheap, mean-spirited shots at another towering figure in screenwriting. Someone I think is actually the anti-Tarantino, and that's Robert McKee. So for the uninitiated, Robert McKee is, he's a screenwriting professor, I think at USC. And he popularized like the three-act structure. You know, we all know 25, 30 years ago, he would do lectures and he wrote a book, and he deconstructed modern movies. He broke down the screenplay in a way that we've all heard before, like the first act and, you know, reversal on page 27, and the obstacles in the hero's journey, and the utter defeat of the hero at the start of Act 3, and so on and so on. And you pour all these things into a screenplay, and you stir them around, and you get, you know, Battleship, or John Carter of Mars. McKee is, in my opinion, one of the reasons that studio films kind of went down the toilet in the last 20 years. You know, it's not his fault, and he's not the only reason, but he's one of them. Because he made this formula for screenwriters, and we listened. You know, studio heads listened, directors listened, screenwriters listened, I listened, and the business took those lessons to heart, and they slowly, methodically sucked the life out of screenplays. And 20 years ago, when Tarantino wrote Reservoir Dogs, McKee was at the height of his fame, I mean, and influence. You could not go to a meeting in Hollywood without him being mentioned, and the three-act structure, and did it work, and blah, 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 and it was like, oof, which brings me to Quentin Tarantino. So I don't love Reservoir Dogs, and I don't think that it's a great screenplay, but I think it's an important screenplay. And I actually think it's maybe one of the most important screenplays of the last 20 years. Seriously, I remember seeing it and thinking, holy shit, this guy just broke every rule that I've gotten hired using for the last 5 years as a screenwriter. What the fuck am I gonna do now? How am I gonna get hired? That first clip that Chris hates so vehemently, it is meandering, and it's offensive, and it's racist, but it was also at the time completely new and fresh and like kind of weird, and this 10 minutes of this banter, and you know, is it the first act? Is it not the first act? Who's the hero? What's his journey? Is it Keitel? Is it,
always be closing?
I'm like the first guy to go over in such a while. Anyway, Reservoir Dogs launched like 1,000 indie films. After it was made, like 2 years later, I wrote and directed a little blood-soaked indie film myself. And it was called Standoff. And it was about a bunch of FBI agents that have a standoff with cult members in this house in the prairie in Texas. And it was a direct ripoff of Reservoir Dogs, like total. My producer called it Prairie Dogs. I wanted to fucking kill him. But he was right. We were all trying to copy Tarantino. We all wanted to break the rules. We all wanted to become auteurs, and we wanted to ignore McKee and Sid Field and all those guys who had written those books about screenwriting. We wanted to invigorate movies, reinvigorate them, and Tarantino did. No, he couldn't stop the advent of Battleship or Country Strong. Nobody could. But I like to think that Reservoir Dogs helped the world, bring into the world a whole slew of,
You
new,
close
fresh
or you
faces.
hit the bricks.
Like Spike Jonze and Robert Rodriguez and Lynn Shelton, and that's something we're celebrating. So, Chris, I will sorry to disappoint you, but I can't be as cranky as you. I don't know anybody who can be as cranky as you. And I will say that I think the Syndicate made the right choice, and that 20 years from now, you'll see that. In the 40/40 awards, you'll get it. Thanks.